Jews have brought the world many things. Larry David, Google, lasers. No, like actual lasers. But our biggest invention is both less tangible and arguably more impactful. I'm talking about monotheism.
There is only one God.
Sure, the ancient world flirted with monolatry, which is just a fancy word for worshiping only one God while believing that many exist. And sure, other ancient religions got close to adopting some aspects of monotheism. But Jews were the first to conceive of a single, unchanging, omnipotent, omniscient God who is the source of all truth, all morality, and all justice. But what does that actually mean? Who is God anyway? Let's get one thing out of the way. Plenty of religions agree with us on this whole omniscient, omnipotent God thing. Christianity, Sikhism, Baha'ism, Islam, we're all more or less pro-God. So case closed? God is the all-powerful, all-knowing, all-just source of everything? Video over? Not exactly. Because once you point to God as the source of all justice and truth, you immediately run into problems. Like if God is all-knowing, all-seeing, all-powerful, all the things all the time, then why does the world look like... Isn't the existence of evil an argument against a just God? For some people it is. Look, faith is a struggle. Even those of us searching for God have a hard time picking out the divine from the chaos. That's why I make these videos. I'm grappling with big questions, and I'm not sure I trust anyone who says they have all the answers. And there's no question bigger than, hello, what about the existence of evil? Fair, y'all, fair. But here's how I think about it. First of all, I believe that humans have free will. And yes, we got a whole video on that, so check that out. We get to make choices. But freedom to choose means freedom to choose the wrong thing.
You chose poorly.
And that applies to the small things like my horrible life choice to stay up till 4 a.m. binge watching The Bachelor, and to the big things like, if God stopped us from doing bad things whenever we had the urge, well, one, I'd be way more productive and nicer to the people around me, but I'd also be an automaton, going through the motions without the ability to choose between good and evil. And I don't know about you, but that doesn't really appeal to me. I'd rather live in a world where we can choose, even if that means that some of us make horrible choices, like choosing to binge watch Netflix over going to sleep at a normal hour. That convinces me, but it doesn't work for everyone. So I'm also gonna point out something else, something that blows my mind every time I think about it. For us humans, time is linear. We're born, we grow up, we die, repeat. We've divided time into eras and ages, stone, bronze, digital, each building on the previous one. The past is the past, the present is happening right now, and the future is a huge question mark that freaks me out if I think about it for more than 30 seconds. But for God, time is something else. Humans are bound by our limited understanding of cause and effect. Until some genius invents a time machine,
You telling me you built a time machine?
we can't go back and change the past. But God doesn't perceive time that way. We have no idea if and when and how God will intervene. And maybe God did intervene in some way that hasn't happened for us yet, or that we couldn't perceive. It hurts my brain a little to think about it, honestly.
My brain hurts!
But a part of me is genuinely tickled by the idea of God as this time-bending, physics-defying force that can intervene in ways we humans can't begin to understand.
Having fun?
I will say this though, humans might not be able to bend space-time the way God can, but we do have a sense of probability. And if I had to take bets about whether the Jews would survive this long, well, my odds wouldn't have been great, but Mark Twain put it better than I can. All things are mortal but the Jew. All other forces pass, but he remains. Somehow we managed to survive as a more or less cohesive entity for the past 4,000 years. Some might say that we're just too stubborn and hard-headed to give up, but I look at the part of the Torah where God promised us that we'd always be around. God does this a bunch, by the way. Take chapter 26 of Leviticus. I will not reject them or spurn them so as to destroy them, annulling my covenant with them. I will remember in their favor the covenant with the ancients. In other words, God is basically like, even if you're being jerks, I'm not gonna forget our deal.
We had a deal.
Even when you're in exile, surrounded by enemies, I'm here for you. I'm gonna keep you here. Whatever else may have happened to us over the long, bloody course of history, so far God has kept up God's end of the bargain. Somehow the Jews are still alive and kibitzing, and to me, that's proof that God exists. Proof is a funny concept when you're talking about something you can't see. There's always going to be someone who demands the kind of proof you can perceive easily with your own senses. And there are always going to be people who ignore anything that conflicts with their own narrow vision of the world. Like the conspiracy theorists who believe that Australia doesn't exist. Oh, I'm totally serious. If you want to kill an hour and some brain cells, Google Australia isn't real and prepare to weep for humanity. But God isn't like Australia. Yep, you heard that here first, everyone. Hot takes from Becky to Hell. You can buy a one-way ticket to Sydney any day of the week, provided you have approximately $3,000, and see it for yourself. You can't really do that with God. And sure, whole groups of people can say, I believe in this God, and God's existence is a fact. But unless you're in that group or have some miraculous experience, it's probably not going to be very persuasive. Look, I'm not trying to convince you that God exists. I don't really think I have that power, which I know is surprising considering that I'm the brilliant mind that coined the phrase God isn't like Australia. But my aim has never been to convert anyone or to prove anything. It's just to work through my own questions in the hope that it might help someone else who's also searching. So I'll tell you what I think about God. I think God is unique, all-powerful, impossible for us to truly understand. And I also think that God wants something from each of us. It's right there in the Bible, chapter 6 of Micah. Only do justice and love goodness and walk humbly with your God. Justice and kindness are human concepts, or more accurately, we enact and perceive justice and kindness in a very human way. Those are instructions for how we should be in the world, towards one another, towards the earth and everything on it. But walking with God, that's the struggle. That's private, internal, and terrifying. That path is gonna look different for each and every one of us. And that's why I do all the things that I do, from keeping kosher, to putting my phone away on Shabbat, to trying my best to live a holy life. It's all part of my journey of walking with God. So what is God? It's really no simple answer, but I'm not looking for simplicity. I'm looking for something big and powerful and impossible to understand. I'm looking for something that will take me an entire lifetime to explore. Rabbi Nachman of Breslov wrote, "The universe is the handwriting of God." And that tracks for me. None of us are going to fully understand the universe, not even the scientists who have made it their life's work to explore it. At best, we can map the tiniest corners of this vast, unknowable expanse. That's what God is to me. That's my answer. But we all have to find our own.